Hi, Rachel.
Hi, Marie. How are you?
I'm great. We're on episode 36. Can you believe it?
No, this is crazy. I even looked back to last year and we did a similar theme for, I think, episode 9.
We're so cool.
Welcome to What to Read This Weekend. We are your hosts, Marie and Rachel, and each week we share a few library books on a theme and how to find them on the New York City Citywide Digital Library, available on the Sora app. Our shows release Fridays at 3 p.m. on YouTube and IGTV.
And this week's theme is AAPI Heritage Month. In case you're wondering what that stands for, it stands for Asian Pacific American Heritage Month.
We have 4 exciting books for you. We Are Not Free, Last Night at the Telegraph Club, All 13, and I'll Be the One.
Yay.
So the first book is We Are Not Free by Traci Chee. This story begins in San Francisco's Japantown after the 1941 bombing of Pearl Harbor. After that date, everything changed for Japanese individuals in America. This particular book tells a fictionalized story about true events. It is told in multiple perspectives of 14 young people between the years of 1942 and 1945, as they are relocated to an internment camp in Utah, as many people of Japanese descent in America were at the time. Each of their stories is impacted by a particular policy or event. There are older teens that feel empowered to fight for their rights, join the army, resettle elsewhere. There are younger teens who are looking up to those older teens, worrying about their families, their future citizenship, possible deportation back to Japan, a country they don't know. There's a little bit of romance and a lot of dramatic family backstories. Although this is historical fiction, readers will identify with the persistence and resistance of young people that continues today. The audiobook is narrated by a full cast, but the ebook contains historical documents and photographs that supplement the text. And there are unlimited copies of the ebook on Sora through August, so it would be a toss-up. Both the audiobook and the ebook are winners.
Hey, I even know where that internment camp was. I've been there in Fillmore, Utah. I know. Little fun
Interesting.
fact. How interesting. So we both have 2 books that take place in San Francisco. My book takes place a little bit later. It's called Last Night at the Telegraph Club. It's by my girl, Malinda Lowe. Love her. Rachel can testify to that. I'm a wee bit obsessed, if that's what you'd like to say. And I'm pretty sure Malinda Lowe can never disappoint me. And she did not in this book, Last Night at the Telegraph Club. So what is this book? Is it a lesbian coming of age story, or is it historical fiction? A look at Chinatown in 1950? Or is this a love story? Wow. Don't worry, I'm about to tell you. This is the book that I dreamed of. Intersectional, lesbian, historical teen novel. That's how I'm going to categorize it. So Lily has spent most of her time in San Francisco's Chinatown, keeping to her mostly Chinese life and friends. But Lily's curiosity about the other world begins to take hold, and she meets her first white friend, Kathleen. Of course, their friendship blossoms. They decide to explore a side of town that her parents warned her about, warned her to stay away. And this is a lesbian bar called the Telegraph Club. And Lily and Kathleen come to understand their sexuality and their own relationship at the club. Malinda Lowe, as she always does, creates a very realistic and queer positive tale. I really appreciated how Malinda Lowe explored the code switching between heterosexual Chinatown and the lesbian Telegraph bar, which would be completely historically accurate for 1950s. And probably a little bit in some places now. And Lily has to deal with many microaggressions from gay and straight women, which I think is an interesting take. Everything is woven in some historical events. You get McCarthyism in San Francisco. While the books are set firmly in the past of 1950s, which I love for their giant dresses, it also brings to mind the gay culture of 1980s San Francisco and provides an ode to the era's past.
The next book is All 13, The Incredible Cave Rescue of the Thai Boys Soccer Team by Christina Soontronvat. I remember this story on the news in 2018. Maybe you do too. It was one of the biggest news stories involving Thailand. It made international headlines, but I really didn't know anything about what was happening or what had transpired during the event. So almost exactly 3 years ago this June, the Wild Boars soccer team, 12 boys and their soccer coach, went exploring a cave. It was a typical Saturday field trip after their game. This was like not a, they fell in a hole kind of situation. Even though they hadn't explored this local cave before, they didn't bring any food or water. They were kind of on a time crunch, but they were so adventurous. They went all the way like to the way, way, way back of the cave where like people had scribbled their names. It was awesome until they get trapped by rising floodwaters. Basically, it was one massive real life engineering problem to get them out of this cave. The author is actually an engineer herself, and the team had experts in geology, meteorology, hydrology, engineering, the science of scuba diving, and being trapped underground, which included chemistry and physics and biology, pretty much all of my favorite things about science. It took 18 days and thousands of people that came from all over the globe to help get them out. So that's like the traditional nonfiction story. And I love a good informational book. And I don't think this one disappointed. One thing I really appreciated about this book, besides the stunning photography and diagrams, is that the book is told like a survival story in two perspectives. There's the above ground perspective as the rescue crews try to locate the boys, and then the below ground perspective of what was going through the boys' minds as they were trapped. Marie, I hate scary stuff. And this one definitely had me on the edge of my seat. But it was nice to know at the end, like there was a positive ending, right? Like, because I don't know, they go to the end of this cave, and when they go to turn around to go home, it looks nothing like what they remembered. This like entry passageway that they came through is now a swirling pool and no passageway exists. So I don't know. I was feeling a little claustrophobic as I was reading this. I think this is appropriate for ages 8 or 9 and up, but I think adults and anyone that loves survival stories would appreciate this. It's available as an ebook, which is perfect because you would not want to miss out on the images.
I'll be the one. So let's just take this, because it's been a long time coming, sister. Let's just check out this cover of a plus size person strutting her stuff. And let me tell you, the book just takes off from there. 16-year-old Sky, a Korean American, is comfortable in her plus size body, but that doesn't mean she hasn't suffered from microaggressions she encounters everywhere she goes, such as not having clothing in a plus size or her size, being told not to eat something, and side remarks about your lack of willpower. And to make it even worse, some of these remarks are by her immigrant mother. But that is not stopping our girl Sky when it comes to a K-pop competition. She is going to work so hard to show these judges of the competition what she's got. And Sky gives some serious kick-A performances that, of course, you would expect from a K-pop competition. And sparks begin to fly with her rival competitor, Henry Chow. So does she win? Does she fall in love? I'm not going to tell you. You need to read the book. What I really liked about this book, as a person in a large size body, Lyla Lee, the writer, allows Sky to really describe what it's like to be on the hurtful end of those microaggressions, and also how these biases that she has experienced has shaped her and given her strength. I think this presents fat shaming and microaggression as a way to allow the reader into the world of a character that they may not have ever thought of or easily dismissed. I loved it, and it gives it 5,000 stars. And I like the cover too.
You can find all of the books that we talked about today on the Citywide Digital Library, on the Sora reading app with your NYCDOE login, or on the Libby app with your library card. If you are new to ebooks, please reach out to one of us or your favorite librarian.
And I hope it's me. Just kidding. We do have a little announcement that there is AAPI Heritage Learn with YA Reads at the New York Public Library, and you can register. We'll include the link in our show notes so you don't have to strain your eyes trying to figure out what that is.
Yeah, if you liked the books we shared today, I think they'll be talking more about Asian American and Pacific Islander heritage books and authors next week. And we have a new set of audiobook sync audiobooks available on the Sora reading app for free. You can download them this week and listen to them anytime this summer, or I think I calculated last year, anytime for the next 98 years. So I'm pretty sure you will graduate from Sora before that happens.
I'm going to be dead before our audiobooks expire. That's a great thought. By the way, thank you. You can visit the show note or view the show notes at bit.ly/W2RTW 2020 and join us next week for a surprise.